Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Woo! Yeah.
Thank you all for being here for this wonderful 3MT Thesis event here at the Garden College hosting on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Appreciate you all for being here. Most importantly, we want to thank all the competitors that are here today, being brave souls for coming up here and do this. So, want to give us some quick hands.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to welcome me. Hi, my name is David Forrest. Hi, it's wonderful to see you this morning. We appreciate y'all having me being here. And I thank all the graduate college and everyone here who's helped represent our statistics for the graduate college. We're going to go quickly over the competition overview of the 3-minute thesis, which started in Australia and landed all the way here in sunny South Florida, where we have wonderful competitors such as you guys being here for this. Next, we have to do event details that the winners of today's competition will be competing in the Friday evening contest from 6 to 8. Hope to see a wonderful winner here go on to win the championship rounds. Next, quick brief of the 3MT, which I'm sure you guys have seen in your folders. Just want to show where we are, where we currently hope to continue with the 3MT events. The competition rules, as you guys will see here, but I hope the competitors are very aware what the rules are as well as the judges. But most importantly, it's the judging criteria, so it's going to be most important. So just be mindful. Be mindful that competitors would be graded at 50% on comprehension and content, and 50% on engaging communication. So please make sure you understand this and read this, and knowing how the judges will be scoring you for this contest. And of course, no event here or anywhere happens without our sponsors and our volunteers. So we're really thankful for everyone for coming time and donating their time and their efforts. And speaking of time and efforts, I want to give a very special thanks to our lovely, lovely judges sitting up front here, taking the time out of their days to help represent us, and most especially you guys. We do have Dr. Shireen Lala, and she is from the Associate Director. She is Associate Director of Broward Testing and Certification. That's her certificate of Broward Testing and Certification. We have Dr. Jessica Lopez. She is the Director of Online Enrollment and Student Success here at FAU at the Center of Online and Continuing Education. Last but not least, we have Dr. Ben Lowe. Here at College of Arts and Letters. Thank you all for your time again. With that being mentioned, now let's focus on what we're here for, the main competition. How am I going to do this? I'm going to be announcing the competitor's name, what college they're from, and their title before they come up here, and what you guys could apply for. So our first competitor today is not here. Oh, thank you. So we're going to go on to the next one. Our first speaker for today will be Eftkhar Alroyley. She is representing the Christine E. Lynn College of Nursing. Her title, The Mutual Understanding Between Nurses and Parents in the Neonatal ICU.
Good morning, everyone. I want to start. My name is Eftkhar Alroyley. I'm from the College of Nursing, and I want to present my research regarding the mutual understanding between nurses and parents in neonatal intensive care unit. Based on my background, I was working in NICU for several years, and then I noticed there are many challenges the parents and nurses face regarding because they are regarding their existence in NICU. And the biggest and significant one was the misunderstanding. The misunderstanding in the NICU, it's made affect two parties, which led them to increase their level of stress and anxiety and depression. And that's why I want to go to develop a mutual understanding to help them understand each other and create a supportive and collaboration relationship Therefore, I use a Smith and Lear to develop a concept has 9 steps. And based on the literature, I found 4 core qualities, which is the respect, trust, openness, and caring. And then I did an interview with the mothers who had an experience in the queue to go through her story and ask her some questions regarding the 4 core qualities and how these integrate together and emerge this concept. And then I create the definition, which is the mutual understanding between nurses and parents. It's exchange of the respect and the trust to help them engage based on the environment of caring and also the openness. And as you can see in the model, I present the respect and trust in the center because they overlap, they always come together in all relationships. In the top, I got the openness, it's so important because they have to be open to each other. And the base is a caring because caring is they have to be physical, emotional, and spiritual present. And for my future work, the mutual understanding affect for based on the knowledge, cultural beliefs, and I want to understand how these impact by using mixed method study to integrate these core quality in my question, qualitative and line with the quantitative to know how the nurses support the balance in neonatal intensive care. And thank you so much. I'm so glad to be present. This is the first time for me, and thank you the committee and the audience, and also my advisor, Dr. Lee.
May I please have one of the signs for the judges to mark their ballots. Thank you, judges. And now for our second competitor, Jayisha Jaya, who will be representing the College of Engineering and Computer Science. Her title, Concept to Improve Efficiency of Heavy Truck Traffic Flow Outside Port Facilities to Support Climate Solution and Equity Impacts.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jayisha and I'm doing my master's in transportation engineering. So my research focuses on how it is possible to improve the efficiency of heavy truck traffic flow outside of the port facilities. And I'm also preparing a concept of operation about this. So port is a very important infrastructure. Every year in the United States, the trucks, they travel a long distance and they carry like more than 1 trillion tons of freight. But the truck traffic is increasing annually like 2.6%. And also, the light and heavy duty vehicles, they actually emit more than 28% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the environment. So, what is the impact of this increased truck volume? It creates bottleneck or capacity reduction in the road. There is car and truck interaction, so that's why there is a possibility of reducing the capacity. And also, the trucks, they create a long queue outside of the port terminal gates. So what happens? The truck drivers, they have to wait every day, like approximately 6 to 7 hours, just to get inside the port. So it actually extends their working hours. And when these trucks remain idle, they still emit carbon dioxide gas in the environment. So in my research, I'm focusing on preparing a concept of operation, and by considering the environmental impact and the equity issue for the truck drivers and the people living around the ports. So I did a traffic impact study outside of the port of Miami, and I tried to simulate the model using PTV-vSim microsimulation software. And at first, I have simulated the network for the current existing traffic condition. Then after that, I provided my solution. Why not we just separate the trucks from the cars? So I provided a dedicated truck lane at the right side of the road, and after that, I simulated my model again and also compared my results with the existing traffic conditions. And after that, I simulated my model for future scenarios, like what will happen if the truck percentage increases in the future. I simulated it for 10% increased truck volume and 20% increased truck volume. And my simulation result shows that by providing dedicated truck lane, it actually reduces the vehicle travel time by 5 to 6% and vehicle delay by 11%. Thank you.
Thank you. May I please have a moment of silence for the judges to mark their ballots. Thank you, judges. And now for our next competitor, Bethany Simpson, who will be representing the Charles H. Smith College of Science. Title: Comparative Studies on Population Genetic Structure of Florida's Threatened Pine Pink Lillia purpurea Orchid.
Good morning, everyone. So, Florida is a biological diversity hotspot for orchid species. Here in South Florida, we actually have more orchids than any other region in continental USA. However, these orchids, over 50% of our state orchid species are listed as threatened, endangered, or critically imperiled. The pine pink or the Bledia purpurea orchid is a terrestrial or ground species that is native to South America, the West Indies, and South Florida. This species has been documented in the state for hundreds of years and is native to the greater historical Everglades system. However, over the past 200 years, through the urbanization and development of South Florida, we have seen that these species have been fragmented and reduced over time to restricted populations across the coasts and in the state. And so with this, we are also noticing significant differences in these Florida populations, such as the ability to reproduce asexually, which is not seen in their southern counterparts, as well as local adaptations between the east and the west coast, such as differences in phenology, blooming periods, and even habitat preference. This species has actually been documented as growing semi-aquatically on the bases of trees above the Fakahatchee Swamp. And so with that, we have collected over 200 leaf tissue samples from across Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, and Collier County. And we will be using a orchid-specific target sequence bait set to analyze over 900 genes that are universal to the orchid family. With this information, we hope to create a genetic framework that is much needed in the state of Florida and has not been done on this species. And with that information, we hope to look at things such as genetic drift, founder's effect, and the ability of, or the possibility of breeding depression. And we can also use this information to go on and develop conservation strategies, mitigation plans. We can work with the local and land managers to kind of develop resources to improve and maybe reintroduce species back into the state and increase the flow of genetic diversity. And we can also use this information to provide information to the botanical world as well. Thank you.
Thank you. May I please have a moment of silence for our judges to mark their ballots. Thank you, judges. And now for our next competitor, Don Rajaso, who will be representing the Charles E. Smith College of Science, titled, With Every Fiber, Characterizing Biomineral Ultrastructure and Nanomechanical Properties of Shark Vertebrae.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
We all know what a shark looks like. That's what a shark looks like. What does a shark really look like on the inside? And how does that affect how it can swim?
Let's let you restart. Sorry. Just one of those reset it.
Hope for the best.
All right, let's start over. Let's give her another round of applause.
If it does it again, then you can just, we'll turn it off and then you can just step back and.
All right, sounds good. All right, no worries. That's what a shark looks like. So what does it really look like on the inside? That's what we're interested in. And how does that affect how it swims? Sharks are made of cartilage. We also have cartilage in our ears, our nose, our knees, but sharks are all cartilage, especially their vertebral column is instrumental in how they swim and steer and spring into action. What I'm interested in is prying into these vertebrae and trying to figure out the connection between their nanoscale properties and their macroscale mechanics. So I'm a chemist, so I'm going to take a chemist approach to dissection. If we strip these shark cartilage for its parts, or if we look at chemical makeup, which is what I do, we'll find that it has mineral, collagen, and sugars. The mineral is hydroxyapatite. It's the same thing that's in our bones and teeth that makes it hard. The collagen is a fibrillary protein. So you know it from our skin, our hair. I'm interested in these very molecules that make up shark vertebrae. How are they arranged? How do they interact with each other? And what exactly does this affect in terms of how the shark swims? So I do this by using powerful microscopes. I get to use lasers, electrons, X-rays, all those cool stuff. So I take X-ray images at several different angles, like you would with a CT scanner at like a doctor's office. But with nano-CT, we go big, we use a large instrument to get tiny details, like how the individual collagen fibrils interact with minerals, right? I also cut the cartilage into very thin slices, thinner than 1,000th of what your hair's thickness is. And then send electrons flying through it, and that gives me information on how atoms are arranged within these fibrils. I can also probe it with a tiny probe and see how the structure deforms. So I use this information, compare it between different sharks, like our humble blacktip here, and also the fastest shark, like the mako. Try to find how the building blocks differ between these sharks. Sharks have been around for hundreds of millions of years, so I think they know what they can do about being flexible, right? So our hope is that we study these expert swimmers and we get to apply what we learn from them to solve bio-inspired problems. Like, for instance, in the field of biomedicine, we can look at osteoarthritis, which is a sort of degenerative issue with your knees, and we try to find a way where we can use cartilage structure from shark into these problems. We can also use strong materials that are flexible in marine robots. With every fiber that we look at, we learn more about sharks, and we can use that to better ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Please have a moment of silence for our judges to mark their ballots. Thank you, judges. And now for our next competitor, Hans Gonzembach, who will be representing the Charles E. Schmidt College of Science. Title: Disentangling Relationships Between Ornamentation and Non-Primary Vocalizations in a Near-Threatened Songbird.
Has a professional wrestler ever picked a fight with you? I mean, if they did, would you stand up to fight them? Or would you run away? Have you looked at me? I personally run away. I mean, some animals develop certain parts of their body in order to intimidate competitors by competing for some resources such as shelter, food, or potential mates. These features, like the antlers of a moose, may seem like silly distractions, but if you think about it, these features are a way for these animals to indirectly tell competitors, hey, did you see how healthy and fit I am? I can put up a fight. Bring it, buddy. Birds use a combination of brightly colored feathers and song to indicate their fitness and fighting ability to competitors. Brightly colored feathers are a great indicator of fitness because a bird gets its brightly colored plumage from the high quality food that it eats. Song is another great indicator of fitness. Imagine having to sing for 5 hours straight without losing your breath. It sounds like a very difficult task. In addition to that, some songs are more difficult to sing over others, and males vary greatly on how well they can perform these songs. We know that birds sing songs to attract mates and defend their territories, but do they sing certain types of songs to intimidate their rivals? Think of a bird's vocal athleticism as a professional wrestler's big muscles. A professional wrestler is going to flex his huge biceps to try to intimidate me, while a bird is going to sing his most physically challenging song. I study a species of bird called the Bachman sparrow. The Bachman sparrow sings a couple of these songs during the breeding season. These songs are called primary songs and are used to attract mates and defend their territories. But in addition to that, when males were out to compete against each other, they use a distinctively different type of song called complex song. Understanding the social role that complex song plays is essential to understanding how vocal elaborate communication systems have evolved. I hypothesize that complex songs contain information about the singer's health, fitness, and fighting ability, which is why we see these songs so often during male-to-male aggressive interactions. So my plan this summer is to catch dozens of Bachman sparrows, take pictures of these beautiful yellow feathers that they have on their shoulder, take a couple of body measurements that they have. In addition to that, record the complex songs that these birds sing. And finally, determine if the birds that have the brightest yellow patches of feathers also have the most elaborate complex songs that they sing. We know that birds sing songs to intimidate rivals, but we don't always know what features of songs are used as the intimidation tactic. I study will tackle this question. So the next time you see birds singing a beautiful melody, think of which of your favorite pro wrestler they most closely resemble to.
Thank you. Might please have a moment of silence for our judges to mark their ballots. Thank you, judges. And now for our next contestant, Heather Wolverton, who will be representing the Charles E. Smith College of Science. Your titles: Repertoires of Redundancy, Exploring the Function of Vocal Complexity, and Bachman's Sparrow Song.
So I was tutoring a high schooler the other day, and we were studying some vocabulary words for his upcoming English test. Now, a lot of these words are what we call $5 words. You know the type: overly complex diction devised to provide a pretense of sophistication. Well, this kid wasn't thrilled, and he repeatedly asked me why he had to learn such complicated words when a simpler word would work just fine instead. Now, I love words, so I argued that these words had different shades of meaning and different connotation and different feel to them. But when you get right down to it, he was right. The words do mean the same thing. So why do they exist? Why does the human language have such a vast vernacular? And do other species use multiple vocalizations to convey the same message? Now, as an animal behaviorist, this last question interests me most. And for years, animal behaviorists have turned to birdsong to study aspects of the human language. Now, like humans, young birds learn their vocalizations by listening to adults. And like humans, when a bird sings, listeners can learn a lot about them. Now, birds sing for two primary reasons. They sing to attract mates and to defend territory from rival males. And to do this, many birds will sing the same song again and again and again. While other species have a handful of different songs they sing, but all these song types have been found to mean the same thing. Now, my study species, the Bachman sparrows, have about 50 different songs that they sing. If all these songs mean the same thing, what's the purpose of learning so many? Well, one theory is that having large repertoires or knowing lots of song types is a way of showing off a bird's superior abilities. Kind of like have some fancy words into the speech to impress all of y'all. And if that's the case, then birds with more songs should have better genes. Well, to test this, I've been capturing and banding male Bachman sparrows at Jonathan Dickinson State Park for the past 2 years. And so far, I've recorded over 500 songs from each of a dozen different males. Now, by analyzing all of these songs, I hope to look for a link between a bird's physical characteristics and the amount of songs he knows. So, for example, I want to see if birds that know more songs have bigger body size, or if they have brighter coloration of their feathers. In addition, I want to see if birds with larger repertoires had a better chance of attracting a mate, to see if all those fancy words really do impress the ladies. Now, I hope that the results of my study will help shed some light on the question of why the species learn so many different song types. And who knows, perhaps my findings can help convince my high school student that creating a prodigious vocabulary is imperative.
Thank you. Let's have a moment of silence for our judges to mark for their ballots. Check, check, check.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, judges. And now for our next competitor, Ivana Serra, who is representing the College of Charles E. Smith College of Science, titled Turtle Life in with a Bony Shield, or Biomechanics Meets Behavior.
turtles have been around for 110 million years. That's 550 times longer than us, modern humans. So it's safe to say they've been pretty successful at facing different threats, and these include things like sharks and crocodiles. Now, one of the attributes that we believe is giving them this success is something that you see across all turtles, and it's the bony shell. The shell is made up of two parts, one on the back, one on the tummy, and it's acting a lot like a shield because it's covering and protecting a lot of your important organs, muscles, and nerves. Now, its shield-like appearance would lead us to believe that it's going to be really resilient against different forces. So imagine a shark chomping down on a turtle shell. But to really know this, we have to look at the material properties of the shell. And these properties tell us about how the shell will respond when you add a different force to it, and it includes things like strength and resiliency. Now, at this point, you might be wondering how exactly we figure out the strength of a shell, right? You're not going to see a shell go pick up a couple dumbbells and start curling them. But what I actually do is take very small samples of shell bone from turtles that have already died. So don't worry, no turtles were harmed in the making of this project. And then I crush those samples. We put the samples between two plates and we slowly squeeze down on them at a known rate and with a known force. And by doing this, we can know how the shell responds to the force, how much energy it absorbs, and really how strong it is. Interestingly, even though the shell has been around for millions of years protecting turtles, it's also remarkably flexible. So what we're learning from this is that even though the shell can protect, it can also help in other functions, such as diving and going to great pressures. Unfortunately for turtles, though, they're now facing new threats that they're not so well adapted for, and this includes things like boat strikes. At high speeds, a boat colliding with a turtle can cause significant shell damage and prove to be quite fatal. So we hope that by learning more about how the shell responds to a force, we can then learn how the shell would respond to something like a boat strike. And from there, we can make more informed decisions when it comes to boats and turtles, so that sea turtles can stick around for another 100 million years. Thank you.
Thank you. So a moment of silence for our judges to mark the ballots. Thank you, judges. And now for our next competitor, Peter Rodriguez, who will be representing the Charles E. Smith College of Science. Title. Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, next person will be Madeleine Hagood, who will be representing Charles E. Smith College of Science. Title, can't believe it's not shark skin.
Hello, I'm Madeleine Hagood, and before I delve into my actual research, I just want you to.
Yeah, let's stop again.
Just text it.
Test.
If it happens again, then just like step back again, and then you can continue on presenting.
Let's give her another round of applause.
Hello again.
Hello.
I'm still Madeleine Hagood. And before I actually talk about my research, I want you to think of a material that's soft to the touch, durable, can stretch really far in one direction, and then stiffens dramatically in a different direction. Okay? Imagine a material that is durable, but soft and composed of a system designed to improve efficiency. What if there was a swimsuit that never sagged? Wouldn't that be a dream? What if your favorite pair of jeans could stay taut and then extend during Thanksgiving dinner? Wouldn't that be ideal? Well, what if I told you that material already exists? So sharks actually invented that material in their skin many millions of years ago when they were first evolved. And what we can tell from this is that it's actually due to the skin structure in sharks. So this behavior in which you perform mechanically different in different directions is called being anisotropic. And shark skin structure is anisotropic because of the underlying collagen fibers that lie in distinct orientations among species and connect with the outer dermal denticle layer. So, simply put, when pulled from head to tail, the skin stretches really far, and when pulled from back to front or top to bottom, the skin is super stiff. So it acts much like a large compression sock. And what this does for our shark species is actually allow them to swim with better energetic efficiency, okay, so to reduce energetic loss, and also prevent bursting of the body cavity when swimming. Super important, right? So, through understanding the mechanical behavior of various shark skins among 19 species, we can better create materials, biomimetic materials and bio-inspired materials that will allow us to bring materials from our imagination into reality.
Thank you. The moment of silence for our judges to mark their ballots. Thank you, judges. Now for our next competitor, who I already kind of introduced, Peter Rodriguez will be representing the Charles E. Smith College of Science, titled The Decaying Mind of a Worm and Why We Should Care.
So, the decaying mind of a worm and why you should care. The only animal to have its entire nervous system completely mapped out is the microscopic nematode called C. elegans. This was a marvelous feat of microscopy and computation that allowed us to understand how a nervous system is wired and how it functions. Yet few who study the brain are actually aware of the impact this work has had. I hope to convince you by the end of my talk that this small animal holds the secrets to two of mankind's most devastating neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. You may be wondering, what can a worm teach us about our own biology? Well, enough for 6 scientists to win Nobel Prizes using them as a model. With only 302 neurons compared to the nearly 100 billion that build our complex brains, this simple animal has been poised as a model to study complex biology. Furthermore, the fundamental processes which build and maintain their nervous system are much the same in ours, allowing us to make translational discoveries from worm to man. Using this as a model, I discovered a gene called SWIP10, because when this gene is damaged, these animals exhibit swimming-induced paralysis, or SWIP, as opposed to thrashing madly to get out of water. Importantly, this paralysis is due to the loss of the same type of neurons that in man causes Parkinson's disease. My thesis work has shown that this is due to the imbalance of copper. Why is this important? Isn't copper the magic metal that soothes our arthritis and allows us to play pickleball into our 80s? Well, copper does something much more important for our brains. Of all the organs in the body, the brain relies on energy production and therefore copper the most. At the time I began my thesis, I learned that we did not yet know how the balance of copper is established. We now have a model to be able to understand how this metal can be balanced in cells which need it most, such as neurons. Without healthy mitochondria, neurons die, and when neurons die, we die. It's no wonder that virtually all neurodegenerative diseases feature disrupted copper balance. I now know that this gene may be the key to understanding how this disbalance can lead to neurodegenerative diseases. At the time I started to study this gene, I was wondering if my work would have an impact on the lives of people. When I then learned that this gene, the human version of this gene, had recently been implicated as a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. This just goes to show the amazing discovery power that we can get out of using this small nematode model to study complex diseases.
Thank you. Let's have a moment of silence for our judges to mark their ballots.
Great topic, by the way. Hopefully that was recorded.
All right, and for our last competitor for this wonderful morning, Coraline Kandassamy, who will be representing the Dorothy F. Schmidt College of Arts and Letters. Title, Rap Antilla, Oral Literature and Identity. Let me test it.
everyone. Have you ever been stuck in traffic and you your favorite song is playing on the radio and you just want to turn it on, but you can't because your mother is right next to you and she's waiting to see if you're gonna say the bad words in the song? So I'm a fan of rap music, so this situation has happened to me a million times. And no matter how many times I explain to my mother that it's not about the form, it's about the content. She just hears a bunch of music for it to generate. So back in 2020, it's COVID-19, and I spent most of my time reading books about literature such as Césaire, Fanon, all these people of the French West Indies. And at the same time, the rest of my time, I spent it listening to my mom's favorite song, if you see what I mean. So an idea came into my brain, and I was thinking, oh, the same concept that I'm reading in these books is the same concept that I'm listening in these songs. And I came up with the idea of my thesis, which is to understand how rap was reappropriated in French West Indies, so in Antilles, so rap entière, in order to represent identity. So the goal is to take rap as a literary device, oral literature, so think about all these non-written literature that still means something and symbolize something to the community. So analyze their stylistic devices, how do they convey a message, what are they saying, to whom, in order to understand how does this represent our identity as the French West Indies. And this is important because when rap was created in the US, it was by marginalized communities of color. And when it came into the French West Indies, it repeated all these symbols, but it also added all these elements of French West Indian cultural productions, such as Creole language, Creole instrumentation. And in a region that is as marked by colonization and as misunderstood and overlooked as the French West Indies, the use of rap can help magnify voices. As academics, we always separate popular art and literature. I propose to combine both in order to help amplify these voices. Because as academics, if we don't turn on our radio, how are these marginalized voices going to be heard?
Thank you. That moment of silence for our judges to mark the ballots. All right, friends, thank you for your waits. While we are calculating the judges' ballots, we would call on each and every one of you to please be a judge yourself and vote for your People's Choice Award. Everyone in this room is eligible to vote and participate. Wish y'all the loved ones at home. Please, guys, take the moments, pick your People's Choice contenders. Obviously, you can pick yourselves.
You guys can do it too.
Yeah, everyone here is eligible? Okay. I'm not gonna pick since I'll show favoritism. But all of you guys are great, wonderful. You guys are definitely deserving of People's Choice. Well, David's choice. That's what I'm doing.
voted before we announce the results. We're going to do a group vote of all the candidates. So, you guys ready? We're going to go on stage. Every single one of these. Let's give it up for competitors. We're creating memories together. So obviously there are going to be several of you. We're going to try to do, if you're to this side of the line, you're going to face this direction. If you're to this side of the line, you're going to face this direction. So come on up, come on up. We're all going to squeeze on the stage. Every single one. All right, so how many others? Perfect. So there should be 5 of you to this side, 5 of you to this side. We got 5 and 5. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, squeeze in a little bit. Now, remember, if you're on this side, just face like in this direction. So we're all going to be kind of facing, and then this side you're going to face to this way.
Actually, mark the side, please. One mark the side, please.
Wonderful. Let's just try to squeeze in so that no one's in front of anybody else. So I don't want to actually move anybody around here, but we're all just going to kind of stand like to the side of one another. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Off in that direction. Perfect. And if you actually come out a little bit this way, we can make like a little bit of a U, and then everyone will be in the picture a little bit more. That's perfect. Okay, cool. How did it look, Loda? Smile. Keep smiling for us.
Good mark. Great, thank you.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. It's not easy to do 10 people on a stage, one photo. You guys do a great job. Sure.
You're so good at that. One now.
Just, I think it makes a huge impact.
I know, that's so sweet.
All right, friends, the moment we all have been waiting for. Before we announce the winners, just one last time, let's give a big hand to our competitors. Great research, brave souls coming up here. We're just gonna go down the list in terms of what you see on here, or people's choices actually get their own. All right, and so our second runner-up for this wonderful Wednesday morning will be to Heather.
So whenever you're set in the middle. As long as the 3 and 2 banners in there too. Otherwise, we'll have to Photoshop it in. It just won't work.
Awesome, thank you.
And now for our first runner-up is going to be Hans.
Oh, I'm in the photo. Yeah.
Thank you.
And next, we're actually going to announce the People's Choice winner. And our People's Choice that we have all voted on, our winner for today is going to be Ivana.
Picture.
One more. Thank you.
And now, to have our official heat winner for this wonderful Wednesday morning, the suspense, can you guys wait for this, can you guys wait? Our winner of our heat today is going to be Dawn.
Cool, thank you.
Congratulations to all the winners today. My everyone who earned a medal today will be competing on our Friday competition this Friday at 6 to 8 p.m. Hope to see you guys here to help and represent our winners for today. And with that, we would encourage everyone, if you please be so kind, just please take a moment of our post-event survey. We want to make sure that we help give better competition for our competitors next year. You guys and competitors, how we could improve, make your points better. So we appreciate your time with doing this.